they are calling for some winter weather to come at the end of the week. So they are guesstimating anywhere from 6 to 13 inches of snow, and it's going to get bitterly cold. So we don't really know what to expect, but as farmers, the only thing that we can do is to prepare for the worst so that our animals are ready for whatever the weather may bring. I am starting out the week in my kitchen just getting lined out to make sure that we have some good meals on hand and just getting an idea of what we need to pick up at the grocery store or if we need to go to the grocery store before the weather comes in. So one of the big things that I do every week is get some yogurt going from raw milk that I source from another local farm. I like to get a big batch of that going in the Instant Pot so that we have yogurt for the week. It is so simple to make that way. And then I also always have some kefir fermenting on my counter, and I generally make smoothies out of it, but this week I'm also going to make some homemade kefir ranch, so that way we have that as an easy condiment in the refrigerator. And this ranch dressing is one of my favorite ways to use raw milk kefir, and it actually gets better as the week goes on because it does more fermenting and the flavors get more flavorful and tangy, and it makes a really good dressing. And then whatever kefir I have left over, I'll put into a smoothie. So I'm just getting a few things going in my kitchen to start off the week. There is just so many benefits to fermented food in the diet, so that's why I try to keep as much of it on hand as possible, so that way it's easy to include in meals or smoothies throughout the week. And this ranch dressing is so easy to make. I a lot of times forget about how easy homemade condiments really are, and it's definitely something I need to get back in the swing of doing. So this ranch, you just make a very simple mayonnaise base, and then you add in your kefir and seasonings and mix it all together for an easy dressing to add to salads or sides or any of your meals throughout the week. And unlike most condiments that you buy at the grocery store, unless you spend a lot of money on all clean ingredient ones, this one is actually healthy and nutrient dense. So it's very important to me to try to keep these kind of things on hand. In my kitchen, I try to prioritize healthy eating, and that does take some extra effort and time when you're cooking a lot from scratch. It mostly just takes some extra planning, like remembering to feed the kefir grains, get the batch of yogurt going, and making sure that you have the staples on hand to do that. And of course, it all changes with the seasons. In the wintertime, I have a bit more time in the kitchen. I can do more than during the summertime when I'm really busy with outside stuff. I'm not spending as much time inside, but I can also just make sure that I have the meat in the freezer and the quality ingredients on hand. So even quick meals can be healthy with a little bit of planning. And so that's one of the things I always start off my week in the kitchen, just prepping some of those things for an easy week of meals ahead. In the wintertime, it is a chore just to get out of the house with little kids because of how much more clothing you have to bundle them up in. I have normally worked up a sweat by the time I even get outside to do chores, but I still prioritize getting outside and getting that fresh air, even though it is a job in of itself just to get outside. This week, they are calling for some really cold weather coming in and possibly snow. They keep changing about how much snow we're going to get, but we know it's going to get cold. The temperatures are going to drop below zero, so we need to prepare for that. One of the biggest things we're going to do later on in the week is haul hay from our hay barn over to our cattle herd, so that way it is really handy. And should we have any issues with the tractor not wanting to start because of the cold, or we can't get a truck and trailer with hay back there, we just want to make sure that we have plenty of it very handy so that no matter what, the cattle are going to get fed. And when the weather gets cold like this, they will eat quite a bit more. So we just want to be on top of it and prepared. For now, I'm just doing my normal chores, keeping a good close eye, making sure everybody is healthy and ready for whatever the weather may bring. Surprisingly, even with the cold weather, the chickens have still been laying eggs really well. I'm not sure how they're going to do this week whenever it drops to 0 and below, but so far they have been keeping up with about an egg a day. In this time of year, we don't go to farmers markets every week, so sometimes we get a lot of eggs piled up in our refrigerator outside. So I just like to wash them and make sure that we are using them all while they're still fresh, or give whatever overages away to friends and family. The biggest thing this time of year is getting out to the coop early enough to make sure that we bring them in before they freeze. So this weekend, when the weather gets so cold, I'm going to try to get out right away to make sure we get them collected so nothing goes to waste. I recently heard someone share that winter is the season for pies in her household, and putting all the vegetables and meat together in a pie with some bone broth just sounded like the perfect meal for these colder days. I have a lot of shank rings in my freezer right now. So shank rings are a more lean, tender piece of meat when they're cooked correctly. You want to try to slow cook them. They cook kind of like a roast, so I thought using it in a recipe like this would be really good. I'm just chopping and prepping all my vegetables. Let it simmer with the shank in it and just slow cook it before adding it to a pie pan, and then I'm going to cover it with the pie crust that I have on hand in my freezer and bake it for dinner this evening. This is the perfect meal for me to prep during nap time and then just let it simmer on the stove for a few hours until we're ready to bake it for dinner. And once I get this simmering and the kids wake up, we're actually going to go out and take a good look at the herd for the evening. So every night this week, the weather has been getting gradually colder. And of course, with that change in temperature, animals can be more prone to getting sick. So it's very important to just keep an extra close eye on everything, that nothing is sick going into this weekend when the weather is going to get 0 or below and snow coming in. Our big project today is to get prepped for some winter weather coming. So originally they said it was just going to get really cold this weekend and through to next week, but now they're maybe calling for a chance of snow. So we just need to make sure that we have plenty of hay out in the pasture close to our cattle, so it's really easy to feed them because they're definitely going to be eating more through this cold stretch. And if we get the snow, we won't be able to haul hay from our hay barn through the pastures with the snow. So we're taking advantage of the dry ground today to get this job done. I usually load up the kids and take the truck and the trailer down the gravel roads, and my dad cuts through the pasture with the tractor, and we can haul 13 bales out there in one trip. So this is something we do throughout the winter time just to stay ahead of the weather. The goal is to keep the hay bales in the hay barn as long as possible, so that way they're not sitting out in the weather. But then we also want to make sure we have plenty for the herd back by where we're feeding them. Our goal was to haul enough hay through to the end of next week. So we did 2 loads today. We did a load yesterday, and we already had some hay sitting here, so we should have plenty. But the cattle will eat a lot more through this cold stretch. When it gets so cold, they have to eat more to keep their body weight. Also, they're gonna want more hay rolled out so they have a nice place to bed, and they'll definitely want more hay to bed if it does end up snowing. The only thing we can do is just prepare the best that we can. The cows are in a field right now that's really clean and wide open, so that's really good. They have a frost-free drinker out here, and they're close to our barn, so they're in a back pasture, but they're not too far away. So if there's any issues, we can get them up to the barn pretty easily. One of the biggest thing with cattle in the wintertime is just keeping a good close eye on the herd. And if they're healthy and they have a good body weight, they're going to do just fine through the cold. I think actually a cow might prefer it to be cold versus those 90-degree humid days in the summertime when there's bugs and flies. I bet if you could ask a cow what she would rather have, she would probably prefer wintertime, honestly. At this point, we feel that we did all we could to properly prep for the forecasted weather. As farmers, there is a lot of worry that comes whenever we don't know what the temperatures are going to do, what the snow's going to do. The main thing that we can do is to make sure we are set up to take care of our animals no matter what happens. So now that we did everything we could, we're just waiting to see what the storm brings in. We have loads of hay back by the cattle so that we know they will be able to be properly fed and bedded. We have the tractor parked in the shed so that the engine can stay warm and hopefully start with the 0 or below temperatures. Now all there's left to do is to stay cozy inside, knowing that we prepped and prepared to the best of our abilities. We have the wood stove going. I have a warm cup of coffee, and we're going to do a little bit of winter baking as we wait for the snow to come. As farmers, we know we're going to be out in the elements taking care of our animals. We will bundle up and get out there when it's 0 or below and do everything we can to make sure that our animals are comfortable and prepared to handle these temperatures in this weather. We have dealt with all different kinds of weather, and through it all, the most important thing is being prepared, but also willing to get out there and do whatever it takes so that our animals stay warm and healthy. is offering the cattle plenty of hay. Normally our herd will eat about 3 big round bales a day, but through this super cold stretch, we're offering them 4 to 5 round bales. Really important they get plenty to eat so that they keep enough calories to stay warm and maintain their body weight. Last night, me and my husband came out and unrolled an old round bale so that they had bedding over the night, and it looks like it still rolled out over there, so they had sufficient bedding all night. And then the other thing we're looking for is snow on their backs. The snow on their backs means they are well insulated and they're maintaining their body heat, so that's actually a really good sign.